Good Erev Shabbos, and I hope you're all well. Firstly, mazel tov to anyone who's celebrating a birthday or anniversary in the coming week. We wish a refuah shalema, a full and speedy recovery to anyone who's unwell. And we wish a richas yamim, long life, to anyone who's observing a yortzeit in the coming week. We know that there are a number of different ways to end a book. It could have a resolved or unresolved ending, an ambiguous or even an unexpected conclusion. But for any writer, whether they have the final scenes of the book worked out from the moment they put pen to paper, or it just comes to them somewhere along the way, there's one thing that they need to master to leave a lasting impression on their readers: how to end the story. After all, they don't want to finish a great story with a weak ending and disappoint their readers. And that's what makes the end of Sefer Bereshis, the book of Bereshis, so surprising, and not in a good way. You see, in the final Parsha, although it's called Vayechi, and he lived, we actually read about Yaakov Avinu's demise, and the chapter in the book ends with Yosef HaTzadik dying. The last verse of the entire book tells us that Yosef died at the age of 110. Vayasim ba'aron b'Mitzrayim, and they put him in a coffin in Egypt. And that's how the book of Bereshis ends. Now, under normal circumstances, with those words, everyone would stand up and say, Chazak, Chazak, v'nis chazek, be strong, and may we all be strengthened. But that's quite troubling. Firstly, because Sefer Bereshis ends in a state of limbo. The era of the patriarchs has ended, but Yosef isn't even buried. He lies dormant in a box throughout the entire ensuing exile. He asks his children to remember him and eventually bury his bones with them upon their exodus. But why doesn't he seek immediate burial in Israel like his father Yaakov? And secondly, the entire juxtaposition seems inappropriate. After we end Sefer Bereshis and declare that Yosef was put in a box in Egypt, we all shout almost as in a cheer, Chazak, Chazak, v'nis chazek, be strong and be strengthened, and let us all be strengthened. Because are those somber words a proper lead-in to our shouts of Chazak? Wouldn't it be more fitting to end the book with the passing of Yaakov and his burial in Israel and the reconciliation of Yosef and his brothers? That would have been a far more morally uplifting ending and would have left us with at least a sense of closure. Yet it seems that there's a definitive purpose in ending Bereshis with Yosef's state of limbo. But what is it? Rabbi Mordechai Kamenetsky relates that Alexander the Great, king of Macedonia, the ruler of most of the civilized world, died at a young age. Now, before he embarked on his conquest of Asia, he inquired into the welfare and stability of his loyal followers, in case their dependents fall destitute during the long battle. And after assessing their needs, he dispersed nearly all of his royal resources amongst his faithful. Observing this, his friend General Perdiccas was surprised, and he asked the mighty ruler, "What have you reserved for yourself?" And the king answered, "Hope. There's always hope." "In that case," replied his followers, "we who share in your labor share in your hope." And with that, they refused the wealth that Alexander had allotted them. Now, perhaps there's great meaning behind the Torah's abrupt conclusion, leaving us to ponder as we hear the words he was put in a box in Egypt, juxtaposed with those shouts of rejuvenation. Yosef's quest was to leave this world with more than just memories. He wanted to declare to his survivors that he, too, wouldn't find final rest during their tenure of suffering. Yosef, the first of the sons of Yaakov to die in a foreign land, understood that with his passing, the long exile would ensue. The Jewish people would slowly and painfully transform from saviors to visitors, and then from visitors to strangers, and finally, they'd be considered by their hosts as intruders worthy of enslavement. But Yosef also knew that one day the exile would end and his people would again be free. And so by remaining in a box, Yosef declared his message of hope and solidarity to the multitudes that simultaneously awaited his final burial and their redemption. And so silently, in an unburied box, he waited with them as the echoes of his pact rang in their memories. Pakod yivkod esechem, God will definitely remember you, and then you must bring my bones up with you. It's a message for all generations, and it's a message for all times. When we see the bones of Joseph unburied and in a box, we mustn't see a box of bones, but we must see the hope that lies in it. We see the hope and faith that the patriarch declared to his children, "Do not bury me now, as you will surely be remembered one day." My hope is your hope. And as we finish the most majestic book, the book of Bereshit, on that unfinished note, we stand up and we do declare, Chazak, Chazak, v'nis chazek, be strong, and we all be strengthened. Friends, whatever we are going through at the moment, we must hold on to that hope and pray that God gives us strength, that we should be strong and we may all be strengthened. For one day, we too will also be free. Good Shabbos.